Struggle is a word we often try to avoid, a word we fear because it signifies hardship, pain, and discomfort. But what if we told you that struggle in its purest form is the very thing that empowers us to grow? What if we embrace the idea that struggle is not something to escape, but something to embrace, for it holds the key to our strength and transformation? When we face difficulties, whether personal or external, we tend to view them as barriers to our happiness or success. But in reality, struggle is one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. It's through facing challenges head-on that we are forced to dig deeper, to push harder, and to search for the reserves of strength we didn't even know we had. Empowerment comes through struggle because it demands that we evolve. It forces us to confront our limitations and break through them. It asks us to let go of our comfort zones and step into the unknown, often without a map or a clear destination. But that's where growth happens, right in the space where we're uncertain, where we have no choice but to rise. Think about the process of a seed growing into a tree. That tiny seed is planted in the dirt, buried in darkness, surrounded by resistance. The earth presses in from all sides, but the seed doesn't give up. It pushes through the soil, it breaks free from the weight that surrounds it, and as it continues to struggle, it begins to reach for the light. Without that struggle, without the resistance of the earth, the seed would never have the strength to break through. The process of growth is, in itself, a struggle one that provides the power to stand tall, weather storms, and grow to its full potential. We too are like that seed. We are all in the process of becoming something greater, but in order to become, we must be willing to face the hard moments, the failures, the setbacks, the heartbreaks. These aren't signs that we are weak or incapable. They are signs that we are being forged. Just as steel is tempered through heat and pressure, our spirits are tempered through struggle. Without struggle, we remain stagnant, never testing the limits of our endurance or potential. Struggle teaches us resilience. It teaches us patience. It teaches us that falling down is not a sign of failure, but an opportunity to rise with more wisdom. We don't learn to be resilient without encountering challenges. We don't learn to be brave without facing fear. And we don't discover our true strength without walking through moments of doubt and uncertainty. The real tragedy is not the struggle itself, but the belief that struggle should be avoided at all costs. Too many people spend their lives trying to escape difficulty, running from challenges, and seeking comfort above all. But in doing so, they miss the most important lesson of all true empowerment is born from struggle. It is through facing and overcoming the hard things that we truly learn who we are and what we are capable of. When we embrace struggle, we stop seeing it as a punishment or a roadblock. Instead, we begin to see it as a teacher, one that pushes us to tap into our inner reserves. The deeper the struggle, the more opportunity there is for growth. So rather than wishing for an easier path, we must learn to ask ourselves, what is this struggle teaching me? What strength will I gain from this challenge? Empowerment through struggle is not about avoiding hardship, but rather learning how to face it, understand it, and use it as fuel for our own personal development. It's about stepping into the fight, understanding that victory is not always immediate, but that every step we take brings us closer to becoming who we were always meant to be. The freedom to choose is one of the most sacred and powerful rights we possess as individuals. It is not just the ability to make decisions, it is the ability to shape our own destiny, to chart our own course, and to stand firmly in the truth of who we are. Yet, in today's world, we often find ourselves trapped by the expectations of others, societal pressures, and even our own fear of making the wrong choice. But true empowerment lies in the freedom to choose, regardless of the outcome. When we are given the freedom to choose, we are given the gift of autonomy. We are not defined by the decisions others make for us or the labels they place on us. Instead, we are the authors of our own story. We write the chapters, we design the plot, and we decide what the ending will be. Freedom and choice means we are not simply passengers in our own lives, but active participants. However, this kind of freedom doesn't come without responsibility. To choose means accepting the consequences of our decisions, understanding that every choice we make comes with both rewards and risks. But it is in this very risk that our growth occurs. The freedom to choose is not about guaranteeing success, it's about the courage to act, to take ownership of our lives, and to embrace the lessons that come, whether they are successes or failures. The real value of freedom and choice is that it allows us to learn about who we are. Each choice, no matter how small, reflects our values, our desires, and our principles. When we are denied the freedom to choose, we are essentially denied the opportunity to discover ourselves. We live in the shadow of others' expectations and definitions, never fully understanding the depth of our own potential. Consider the moments when you've been faced with a difficult decision, where the weight of the world seemed to rest on your shoulders. In those moments, you may have felt the pressure to choose the path that others would approve of, the path that seemed easiest or most acceptable. But true freedom comes when we reject those external forces and trust in our own judgment. It's about standing firm in what feels right to us, not because it fits the mold, but because it aligns with who we are at our core. But freedom and choice is not just about individual decisions, it is also about the collective right to choose. As a society, when we allow people to choose freely, whether it's their career, their relationships, or their personal beliefs, we honor their humanity. We give them the space to evolve, to become their truest selves, and to live authentically. In a world that is so often ruled by norms and traditions, freedom and choice offers a much-needed breath of fresh air. It challenges the status quo and encourages diversity, individuality, and progress. For many, the hardest part of making a choice is the fear of being judged, the fear of making the wrong decision. But what does it mean to make the wrong choice? Who defines what is wrong or right for us? Is it society's idea of success? Is it someone else's dream for us? The reality is that there are very few absolute right or wrong decisions in life. Instead, there are paths we take and paths we don't, and each path carries its own lessons. The beauty of freedom and choice is that it allows us to learn from both our successes and mistakes, teaching us resilience, adaptability, and self-trust. When we deny others the freedom to choose, we deny them their own growth. We limit their ability to experience life fully, to explore different aspects of who they are, and to challenge themselves in ways that can lead to greater self-awareness. But when we encourage freedom and choice, we open the door to possibility. We allow people to step into their own power and in turn, inspire others to do the same. We must understand that freedom and choice doesn't mean freedom from responsibility. Each choice comes with its own set of consequences. But in those consequences, we find our lessons, our strengths, and our wisdom. The freedom to choose is the freedom to live fully, to experience life without the weight of others' expectations, and to trust in ourselves as we navigate our journey. Letting go is often one of the most difficult things we are called to do in life. Whether it's letting go of a dream, a relationship, a belief, or a chapter of our past, the act of releasing what we hold dear can feel like an unbearable loss. Yet, in reality, letting go is not a loss at all. It is a powerful act of courage and self-liberation. It is the recognition that sometimes holding on to something that no longer serves us prevents us from stepping into the future we are meant to embrace. In the grand design of life, there are moments when we must release our grip on the things that weigh us down, even if they were once important to us. Whether it's a toxic relationship, a job that no longer fulfills us, or the lingering memories of a past failure, holding on too tightly to anything can keep us stagnant. But the courage to let go, especially when it feels like we're letting go of parts of ourselves, takes immense strength and faith. To let go is not to give up, it is to make space for something greater. It is to acknowledge that the energy, time, and emotional investment we place into things that are no longer aligned with our growth could be better directed toward what is waiting for us. Letting go is not about quitting, it's about evolving. We hold on to people, places, and things because they give us a sense of comfort or familiarity. But comfort can become a cage, and familiarity can become a prison if we cling to it out of fear of the unknown. The courage to let go is the willingness to step into uncertainty, to trust that the act of release will eventually lead to something better, something that fits who we are becoming, not who we were. We also hold on because we're afraid of what people might think. Society often equates letting go with failure, as though choosing to release something means admitting defeat. But the truth is, letting go is one of the most powerful declarations of self-respect. It says, I am worthy of more than what this is giving me. I am ready for something different, something that will truly allow me to flourish. The courage to let go means refusing to settle for what is no longer serving your highest good, even if it's comfortable, familiar, or expected. It's an act of reclaiming your power, even when it feels like you're stepping into the unknown. Letting go also requires deep emotional honesty. It means confronting the truth of why we've been holding on in the first place. Are we holding on to avoid the pain of grief or disappointment? Are we holding on because we're afraid of being judged or criticized? Are we afraid of losing our sense of self if we release what we spent so much time and energy on? Letting go requires us to confront our fears head on and often to acknowledge the pain that accompanies release. But it's in this pain that we find the wisdom and strength to move forward. It's in facing the discomfort that we realize we are capable of surviving without the things we thought we couldn't live without. One of the most challenging aspects of letting go is the fear of regret, the fear that we will look back one day and wish we had held on for just a little bit longer. But regret is a slippery thing. It can keep us bound to the past, trapping us in an endless cycle of what ifs and maybes. Regret often comes from a place of fear, not clarity. But when we let go, we stop second-guessing ourselves and trust in the wisdom of our decision. The act of releasing is often followed by an unexpected sense of peace, as if a weight has been lifted off our shoulders. Letting go also gives us the freedom to embrace new opportunities. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, open field filled with possibilities, but you're carrying an old, heavy bag full of memories, regrets, or grudges. You can't fully explore what lies ahead if you're constantly burdened by what's behind you. When we let go, we free ourselves to move forward with a lighter heart and a clearer mind, able to recognize the opportunities that are waiting for us. Sometimes we can't move forward until we make room for new things to enter. But when we let go, we unlock the doors to fresh beginnings, new connections, and unexpected growth. In relationships, the courage to let go can be even more profound. It's difficult to release someone you love or care about, especially when you've invested time, energy, and emotion into them. But sometimes the most loving thing you can do is to let someone go, whether that means releasing them from your life entirely or simply letting go of the idea that they should be someone other than who they are. Relationships that no longer nurture you can drain your energy, diminish your sense of self-worth, and prevent you from growing. Letting go in relationships doesn't mean you stop loving, but rather that you love yourself enough to recognize when it's time to step away from toxicity or unbalanced dynamics. Ultimately, the courage to let go is not a single act, but a practice and ongoing choice to release what no longer serves us, even when it feels difficult or uncomfortable. It's the understanding that holding on to the past keeps us from stepping into our future. Letting go is about giving ourselves permission to grow, to evolve, and to move forward without being weighed down by past attachments. It is about trusting that in the release we find our freedom. We often think of battles in terms of what we can see, the external struggles, the visible scars, the challenges that are so apparent to the world. We can measure those, the fight for success, the battle against adversity, the conflict with others. But there are also unseen battles, struggles that happen quietly within us, often hidden from the eyes of the world. These are the wars we fight in silence, the ones that leave no visible marks but shape us just as profoundly, if not more so. These battles are fought in the mind, in the heart, and in the spirit. An unseen battle may be the fight against self-doubt, the quiet voice that whispers in our ear telling us that we're not enough, that we'll never make it, that our dreams are too big to be realized. No one else may hear that voice, but its presence is powerful, and it wears us down piece by piece. Every day we wake up and decide whether we will let those doubts consume us or if we will silence them with our actions, our courage, and our faith in ourselves. This is an unseen battle, one that is fought not in public spaces or on grand stages, but in the quiet moments when we confront our deepest insecurities. Another unseen battle is the fight with emotional pain, something that so many carry without anyone knowing. Loss, betrayal, heartbreak, grief, these are all invisible wounds, often hidden behind smiles and routine conversations. We can learn to put on a brave face, to act as though everything is fine, but beneath the surface, the struggle continues. These are battles fought in the dark corners of our hearts, where no one can see the tears that have been shed or the weight we've carried. Yet, even though they are unseen, these emotional battles are some of the most significant we face. The healing is often slow, sometimes invisible, but the growth that comes from these struggles is immeasurable. Then there is the unseen battle of mental health, a battle that often remains shrouded in silence and stigma. Depression, anxiety, and other mental health struggles do not always manifest in ways others can easily recognize. A person may appear perfectly fine on the outside, but inside they could be fighting a storm. It's a battle that doesn't have clear markers, no obvious symptoms that others can identify. But the toll it takes is just as real, just as profound. Every day is a challenge. Every step feels heavier, and the fight for balance and peace is constant. People may smile, laugh, and go about their days, but inside they are often facing an invisible struggle that requires tremendous strength to navigate. There are also the unseen battles related to personal identity and the constant negotiation between who we are and who we are expected to be. From a young age, we are told who we should be, what we should look like, what we should believe, and how we should behave. This can create an internal conflict as we begin to question whether the person we are inside matches the image the world has of us. For many, this battle is a quiet one, fought in the privacy of self-reflection and internal dialogue. It's the fight to be authentic in a world that often values conformity. This struggle might not be visible to others, but it is deeply felt. The pressure to conform to societal standards or the expectations of family and friends can create a constant internal battle for freedom and self-expression. The unseen battles we fight with addiction, whether the substances, behaviors, or thoughts, are some of the most isolating. Addiction is not always visible, and those who struggle with it often face tremendous shame for what they're going through. On the outside, they may look like they have it all together, but inside they are locked in a daily battle to break free from the chains that bind them. Addiction can consume the soul, and yet it is often fought in secret. Many people suffering from addiction feel isolated, trapped, and unable to ask for help because they fear judgment or rejection. It is a battle fought in the silence of the night, in moments of weakness when no one is watching. But just because no one sees it doesn't mean it's any less real or painful. In relationships, there are often unseen battles that stem from miscommunication or unspoken pain. Couples, friends, and even family members can be in a constant struggle to understand one another, to bridge the gaps that form between them. These conflicts are often unresolved, simmering beneath the surface, sometimes for years. People may stay in relationships out of obligation or love, yet inside they're fighting battles they cannot articulate. The unspoken hurts, the suppressed emotions, the unaddressed needs, they are all battles that are fought in silence, creating distance and discord. And it's not always clear to outsiders what is happening, because on the surface, everything may seem just fine. Another profound unseen battle is the fight against time, the constant pressure to accomplish, to achieve, to be more, to do more, to do more. Time seems to slip through our fingers, and we're left feeling as though we're always falling short, always behind. The battle with time is not a battle of minutes and hours, it's a battle of expectation, of trying to measure up to what we think our lives should be. We see others around us progressing, achieving, moving forward, and we are left questioning if we're doing enough. But time is something we cannot control. And this internal struggle is one that, for many, goes unnoticed. It's a battle against our own fears of inadequacy, the ticking clock that seems to remind us that we may not have enough time to accomplish all that we've set out to do. Finally, one of the most common unseen battles is the struggle with forgiveness, both forgiving others and forgiving ourselves. Holding on to resentment, anger, and guilt can feel like carrying a heavy weight that no one else can see. We may not show it, we may not speak about it, but the emotional burden of not forgiving can weigh us down every single day. This battle is fought quietly in the heart and the mind as we wrestle with letting go of the hurt that others have caused us or the mistakes we have made. The courage to forgive, to release the grip of resentment and guilt, is not an easy one. It's a constant internal fight that shapes our emotional well-being. Unseen battles are often the most profound and the most transformative, though they rarely make headlines or garner attention. They are the personal wars that shape our resilience, our character, and our ability to empathize with others. They are the silent struggles that teach us what we are capable of enduring, and in some cases, what we are capable of overcoming. These battles are not fought in the spotlight, but their impact is far-reaching. They shape the very essence of who we are, even though no one may ever see the scars we carry. Self-discovery is one of the most profound and transformative journeys a person can undertake. It is a lifelong process, a continuous exploration of who we truly are, beyond the roles and expectations that others may impose upon us. It is the excavation of our deepest truths, the unveiling of parts of ourselves we have long neglected or never fully understood. Self-discovery is not about becoming someone new, but rather about reconnecting with the essence of who we have always been, but may have forgotten along the way. At its core, self-discovery is an inward journey, a process of listening to ourselves with clarity and patience, without the distractions of external pressures or the noise of societal expectations. We are constantly influenced by the world around us, by our families, our communities, our social circles, and the media. These forces can shape the way we see ourselves and can often cause us to lose touch with our true nature. To rediscover ourselves, we must be willing to remove the layers of influence and conditioning that have built up over time, and to embrace the raw, unfiltered truths that lie beneath the surface. But self-discovery is not always a comfortable process. It requires us to confront our fears, our limitations, and our shadow selves, the parts of us we may have suppressed or ignored. These are the aspects of our personality, our history, or our emotions that we may not be proud of or may find difficult to face. But the beauty of self-discovery is that it invites us to examine even the parts we would rather avoid, to heal the wounds that have shaped us, and to embrace the totality of who we are, including our imperfections and flaws. True growth comes not from avoiding our shadows, but from integrating them, learning how they have shaped us, how they have guided us, and how we can use the lessons from those dark places to move forward with more awareness and compassion. One of the most significant aspects of self-discovery is learning to listen to our inner voice. In a world that constantly demands our attention and pulls us in 1,000 directions, it is easy to lose connection with our own instincts and desires. We become so attuned to the expectations and needs of others that we forget to ask ourselves, what do I truly want? What do I need? What does my soul crave? To grow, we must be willing to silence the noise around us and learn to trust the wisdom within us. This inner wisdom is often subtle, a quiet voice that speaks in moments of stillness, in times of reflection, or in flashes of insight. When we learn to tune in to this voice, we discover a wellspring of guidance that can help us navigate even the most complex and uncertain situations. Self-discovery also involves embracing change. Growth is not static. It is an ongoing process of evolution, and part of discovering who we truly are is realizing that we are constantly changing. We are not fixed beings, but dynamic, fluid creatures who are always in a state of becoming. Each life experience, whether joyful or painful, teaches us something new about ourselves and adds to the richness of our understanding. Sometimes we may discover that our values, desires, or goals shift over time, and that's okay. Growth often requires us to let go of outdated beliefs or self-concepts that no longer align with who we are becoming. This can be disorienting, as we may feel that we are losing parts of ourselves, but in truth, we are shedding the old to make way for the new. To grow, we must be willing to embrace the ebb and flow of change, trusting that it will lead us closer to the person we are meant to be. A crucial part of self-discovery is developing self-awareness. This involves taking the time to reflect on our thoughts, emotions, actions, and reactions. It means looking honestly at our patterns of behavior and asking ourselves why we do the things we do. Self-awareness helps us to understand the driving forces behind our decisions and helps us to recognize when we are acting out of fear, insecurity, or habit rather than from a place of authenticity. Self-awareness is the key to breaking free from unhealthy patterns and choosing behaviors that are aligned with our true desires. It's through awareness that we are able to make conscious choices, ones that reflect who we are at our core, rather than simply reacting to life's circumstances.